Alright, so I wanted to go into theology here. What kind of government is the American government under in 2016? And I've come up with a different ideology than the traditional one of saying it's now an oligarchy. And I'll explain my reasoning in a little while. I'd like to go through a good amount of ideas, of which most you will agree they don't apply even at face value. And what I will show you here is the reasoning why. One second, I gotta fix that. There we go. So, this is actually coming from Live Science, and I didn't exactly expect this to have it, but this goes through different types of governments. Now, even when I'm reading this list, I'm seeing about 20 or so that are not there. Goes through an absolute monarchy, and anarchy, and authoritarian. So as you can go through this list even quickly, you find out it's none of the three in the top. A commonwealth, no. Communist, probably. Confederacy, not quite. Constitutional, we know Barry is not constitutional. We know it's not a democracy by the people. We know it's not a monarchy by the Constitution. We know it's not a democracy by the regular. A democratic republic, well, not really. Dictatorship, This one here, it's not by the church. It's not an emirate. It's not a federation. Federal Republic, Islamic Republic, not so much. Maoism, there's no Maoism. Marxism, no. Marxism, no. Monarchy, no. An oligarchy seems reasonable. A government in which control is exercised by a small group of individuals whose authority generally is based on wealth or power. That sounds about right of what we're experiencing. Parliamentary democracy, we don't have a parliament. Presidential. System of government where an executive branch exists separate from a legislative, to which it is generally not accountable. Somewhat, but not exact. A republic, we know the days of the republic are done. Socialism, sultanate is very similar. Theocracy, totalitarian, seems about the most. A government that seeks to subordinate the individual is state controlled, but not only by political and economic matters, but also by attitudes, values, beliefs, and by its population. This is exactly what we're in. They're trying to go into the political, economic, attitudes, values, beliefs by the population and control it all. Now let's go into every one of them so that we can tell one by one they're not the absolute here. An absolute monarchy is a form of government in which a monarch rules unhindered without any laws, constitution, or legally organized opposition. Well, ours is still playing the game that there are other parties and there are other organizations. So that's not true. Anarchy, a condition of lawlessness and political disorder brought about by absence of government authority. Kind of, but not quite. A central government still exists. Authoritarian or authoritative form of government in which state authority is imposed onto many aspects of citizens' lives. Correct. That is the main basis. So we have an authoritative government. What kind of authoritative government? Commonwealth, a nation or state of political entity founded by the law and united by a compact of the people for the common good. We know that went out the window a long time ago. Communist System of government in which a state plans to control the economy and a single, often authoritarian party holds power. State controls are imposed with the elimination of private ownership of property or capital while claiming to make good progress toward a higher social order in which all goods are equally shared by the people. That's their goal, but it hasn't quite gotten that bad yet. Confederacy, I'm going to throw out almost immediately, a union in compact or treaty between states and provinces, territories that create a central government with limited powers, no. The constituent entities retain supreme authority over all matters except those delegated to central government, no. Central government has supreme authority or near supreme authority. Constitutional, that went out a long time ago. You and I both know that doesn't even apply anymore or nearly apply. So a government by or operating under authoritative document, constitution set forth by a system of fundamental laws and principles that determines the nature, function, and limits of government. No, our government does not believe in limitations of government. Constitutional democracy, a form of government in which a sovereign power of the people is spelled out in governing constitution. As long as you claim the group being those in power and those who bend to their will, that would apply, but for the masses and for the numbers, no. A constitutional monarchy, a system of government in which a monarch is guided by a constitution, whereas his or her rights, duties, and responsibilities are spelled out and written by law or custom, no. This government does not believe in the Constitution, only its ability to write new laws and degrade the power of the people. A democracy, a form of government in which supreme power is retained by the people, by which it usually exercised indirectly through a system of representation, delegated authority periodically renewed. No, that's not it. Democratic republic, a state in which a supreme power rests body of citizens entitled to vote, officers and representatives responsible for them. No. A dictatorship is a little bit similar, form of government in which a ruler or a small clique wield power, not restricted by constitution or laws. We're slightly closer to that. Yeah. This one's here, governing by the church or religion. We're not quite there yet. Emirate is similar to a monarchy or sultanate, a government in which a supreme power is in the hands of the emir, ruler of a Muslim state. The emir may be an absolute overlord or sovereign with constitutional limited authority. No, Obama believes in no constitutional authority. He believes in what he can write and what he can do. And what he says is absolute law of the land or the high seas, etc. Federal and a federation is a form of government in which sovereign power is formally divided, usually by the means of the Constitution, between central authority and a number of constituents, regions, states, colonies, provinces, so that each region retains some management of its internal affairs, different from a confederacy in which a central government exerts influence directly upon both individuals as well as upon regional units. Not quite. This government is a limited body in numbers and a maximum body in law and writing new laws instead of just taking out the old ones. Islamic Republic, I thought this might work since Obama is Muslim, but it doesn't really seem to work. A particular form of government adopted by some Muslim states, although it's in such a state, in theory, a theocracy, it remains a republic, but its laws are required to be compatible with laws of Islam. Not really, because the majority of our laws, at least on the surface, do not completely bend to that of any real religion, even though in the background it kind of does. Maoism was formed in China by Mao Zedong or Mao Zedong, which states that a continuous revolution is necessary if the leaders of a communist state are to keep in touch with the people. No, because there has been no official revolution. Marxism has a similar situation, viewed as a struggle of workers, as progression of historical forces that would proceed from a class struggle of the proletariat workers exploited by the capitalist business owners to a socialist dictatorship of the proletariat to finally a classless society of communism. Not quite there yet. It's their goal. It's one of their goals, but not quite there yet. A Marxist-Leninism, an expanded form of communism developed by Lenin, by doctrine of Karl Marx. Lenin saw imperialism as a final stage of capitalism and shifted the focus of workers' struggle from the developed to the understated countries. Monarchy is a government in which the supreme power is lodged in the hands of the monarchy, whose reigns over state or territory, usually for the entire existence or hereditary right. The monarch may be either a sole or absolute ruler or sovereign, such as a king, queen, prince with constitutional limited authority. No, they believe in no constitutional authority, and it's a limited group of people. This is the big one everybody claims. It's an oligarchy, and this is why I believe it is not an oligarchy. Because in an oligarchy, a government in which control is exercised by a small group of individuals whose authority generally is based on wealth or power. Yes, but it doesn't really go into the whole thing. It's not parliamentary, so I'm not going to go into parliamentary. Presidential sounds like a good start. A system of government where the executive branch exists separate from the legislative, to which it is generally not accountable. That is kind of where I'm at. So, in my view, it's a... I'm not done yet. I still have a few more. But in my view, it is a authoritative or totalitarian presidential dictatorship is where I'm at. Republic does not exist because the representative democracy in which people elected duties are representatives, not the people themselves, vote on legislation, yeah, but our vote is no longer counted, therefore it is null and void. Socialism, a government in which means of planning, producing, and distributing goods is controlled by a central government and theoretically seeks a more just and equitable distribution of property and labor. Not true. They want it all for the ruling class, or the ruling class to divide it up as they see fit among their subordinates. Sultanate, similar to a monarchy government in which a supreme power in the hands of a sultan, head of a Muslim state. Sultan may be an absolute ruler or sovereign with constitutionally limited authority. Not really. In this government, they don't believe in the Constitution, or they don't believe in the ability for the Constitution to have authority, limited or otherwise. Theocracy, a form of government in which a deity is recognized as supreme civil ruler. Deity's laws are interpreted by the authorities, bishops, mullahs, etc. Government in which subject to religious authority. Totalitarian, I think, is the one that fits the bill. I think it's a presidential totalitarian government. Government that seeks to subordinate the individual to the state by controlling not only political but economic matters, but also the attitudes, values, and beliefs of its population. I think that that is absolutely here, but I believe it's a presidential totalitarian government, because in this one, the executive branch exists separately from the legislature. Whether there is a legislature or not makes very little difference because it is separate. And I know you're going to say, oh, that's not true. Well, yes, it is true. Because we're looking at a presidential, because legislation still exists. A presidential totalitarian government, which has combinations of others. But here's why I believe it's totalitarian and not oligarchical. A government which seeks to subordinate the individual to the state. I believe that 100%, by controlling not all political but economic matters, but also the attitudes, values, and beliefs of its population. I do believe that, whether you believe that to be a good thing or a bad thing. That is my rendition, is we are under a totalitarian presidential government or presidential totalitarian government. And that is what I believe. And as much as you may not want to like this upper meme, welcome to the police state where anyone against the state is a criminal no matter how innocent they are. That is, by all fact, what we have entered into by the bond that is made at our birth through the U.S. Federal Reserve that goes up to the IMF. So before I stop here, this is my belief. America in 2016 is a totalitarian presidential government, a government in which the executive and legislative governments are separate, in a totalitarian government that seeks to subordinate the individual to the state. That is true, by controlling basically all avenues of all political and economic matters, among others. And also the attitudes, values, and beliefs of its population. Remember, they're pushing the gay agendas, they're pushing the anti-male agendas, they're having good-looking women shave the sides of their heads to, believe they're all lesbians and shit, which I think is just absolute craziness. If you take half those ladies and take them to an all-male strip club, I guarantee you half the women would go toward the guys. Just like if you take half of them to half the men to, half the gay men at least, to a female strip club, half of them would probably generate, if they're allowed to, go to the, to the women. Because not everybody's gay, not everybody's straight, from what I understand. That, like everything else, has a percentage difference. And for some people, the percentage of homo over hetero has been flipped. Some would be 60-40, some would be, 20-80, and some believe they're 100%, but I can't believe that to ever actually exist, either in the absolute hetero or the absolute homosexual, among all the other types you can imagine. So this is what I believe we're in. We're in a presidential totalitarian government that seeks to subdue the individual to the state by controlling basically all avenues of attitudes, values, beliefs in the population, to subordinate the individual to the state. And this is what I believe, and I think it's quite close. Thank you.